Hey guys, what's going on? It's Mitch here, and today we're talking about how you can use and modify natural light from the sun to get better shots in your videos. It seems that as filmmakers, we've become really accustomed to comparing ourselves and our work with others in the context of what camera gear or lenses we use. And it's really easy for us to look at these established professional DPs and say to ourselves, well, our work isn't as good as theirs because they're using professional cinema grade equipment. And I myself have been guilty of this in the past as well on my filmmaking journey. But it kind of leads us into this sense of paralysis around how, we can't create the kinds of things that we want to create because we don't have the equipment. And we use excuses like, my camera doesn't have enough dynamic range, I don't have a flat or log profile, so that I can't get those, beautiful high dynamic range scenes, or I can't expose for these shadows without blowing out my highlights, and it just looks terrible. And honestly, most of us, especially if you're early on in your filmmaking journey, won't be able to afford or even justify buying something like a Red Epic or an Arri Alexa. And yes, when you look at these high production value sets, where they're filming, commercials, music videos, feature films, things like that, they are using very high quality cinema grade cameras. But that's not the only thing that they are doing. In fact, on these sets where they're using natural light, whether it's shooting outdoors or, shooting inside with natural light coming in, it's really rare that they're just literally shooting raw sunlight. There's usually always a modifier or a bounce or something there that increases the production quality, the look, the direction of the lighting so that it's more flattering. So I wanted to create this video for you guys so that I could show you some really cheap, easy, effective ways that you can harness and modify natural light in order to get more professional looking videos. And also to get around the fact that, most of us don't have cameras that have infinite dynamic range. So what I actually did is I went down to the hardware store and I wanted to find a really cheap but effective bounce card that I could essentially take light from the sun and bounce it back into my scene. So I found these really, really inexpensive sheets of core flute plastic. And that's what they call it here. I'm not sure what they call that kind of plastic in your country, but essentially it's just a flat white sheet. And those sheets were actually $7 each. So I bought 2 of them. Now my plan was to punch holes in those sheets and then connect them with a zip tie or a cable tie. And this would enable me to open and shut the reflector and also have quite a larger surface area so that I could bounce more light back into the scene or decrease the amount of light that I was bouncing back into the scene by just folding it over. And all up, I think the bounce card cost me $16 or $17. I also have a 5-in-1 reflector that I got from Amazon, which is a really great tool because it has a diffuser which enables you to soften the light coming from the sun, but it also has 4 kinds of reflectors. It has a black, a silver, a gold, and a simple white reflector. If you use the white side, essentially does the same thing as my DIY reflector that I got from the hardware store. For this shoot, I just used it as a diffuser. So one really important thing to note is that if you're doing work like this where you're really taking control of the lighting, you do need at least, I would say, 1 assistant or a stand that can hold your bounce card or your reflector. Having 2 assistants is even better because then obviously you have more control over where you can precisely place the light. I know that there's stands out there that you can get that will hold the reflector or diffusion panel, and they're really great if you don't have some crew that can help you out. I just want to say a quick shout out to Christopher Dodd and Sam Freganese who helped me out with creating this shoot, and I've linked both of their YouTube channels in the description below, and you should definitely go and check them out. So here we have Chris in front of the camera, and you'll notice that the light is coming from his left side and in front. It is also very harsh. So we're using the diffusion panel and the 5-in-1 reflector to soften the light. The diffusion panel also cuts down the amount of light that's reaching Chris's face. So now we just simply have to adjust our exposure. And this looks much nicer. Here's a before and after. Pay attention to what happens to our background in this shot after we use the diffuser and adjust our exposure. Now we've got a beautifully even lit exposure that perfectly matches our background. The shadows on Chris's right side have also become much brighter. So we've still got a lot of contrast in Chris's face, and in this particular instance I actually want to remove the shadows as much as I can to get the most even exposure possible. This is where the bounce card that we made comes in. Bringing the bounce card onto Chris's right side takes the sunlight coming from his left and in front and bounces it back into the shadow side of his body. Here's a before and after. In our second scene, we chose a lighting scenario where sunlight is coming from behind our subject. You can see here that our subject's face is almost entirely in the shadow. In this instance, we used our DIY bounce card to reflect that light coming from behind our subject back into the scene. So here's a before and after. Unfortunately, those are the only two lighting scenarios we had time to shoot on this particular day, but I'm really looking forward to doing more outdoor lighting breakdowns using natural light and my DIY reflector in the future. Thank you guys so much for joining me again, and I really hope you got something out of this video. As usual, all of the equipment that I use to create this lighting setup and all the equipment I use to create this video, in fact, is linked in the description below if you want to check out any of those links. If you're enjoying the kind of content I'm creating on this channel, it would mean absolute world to me if you guys subscribe and leave a like on this video. And that's pretty much it, guys. So thanks for watching once again, and I'll see you in the next video.